So the title of today's lesson is Immunity. Today is Tuesday, November 17th, 2020, and it is the sixth and penultimate, meaning second to last day of our 8th unit. Tomorrow is test day, people, and it also means that tomorrow is the day when all of your asynchronous assignments are due. We are going to have time to work on them today. And I've also added one assignment that will be extra credit for you all. I've also changed one assignment from informal to formal. That way you all can get a little bit of a boost, but I'll talk about all of that at the end of the lesson. The objective of this lesson, which will be a short one, is to describe how pathogens are evolving to become resistant to specific treatments. And our essential question, how is evolution driving the selection of resistant pathogens? So take 10 more seconds to write down, at minimum, the title and date. All right. Before we get into the biology of the lesson, I do want to mention the Motivated Minds group, which meets every Tuesday, including today, from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock p.m. I know many of you are eager to get off of your laptops and stop looking at a screen as quickly as possible when the school day is over. But I do think that this is a beneficial opportunity for you all. Obviously, it is optional, but I think that there's a lot to be taken from it. The point of the group is to discuss specific holistic well-being topics such as self-esteem and confidence, stress management, relationships, drug education. And ultimately, the topic of the conversation is student-driven. So whatever the students decide that they'd like to talk about is what the group talks about. The group is facilitated by an organization called Anuvia, as well as the counselors and social workers from West Mech. So you will be there with some familiar faces. It's obviously virtual, and the Zoom information is available on the screen. You can see the meeting ID and the password. If you'd like me to send you this flyer, if you haven't already heard about this, or if you'd like me to send you the Zoom information, you can just hit me up on the side and I'd be happy to do that. As I said, I do think this could be a truly beneficial opportunity for you all, and I'd encourage you to give it a look. Okay, I'm seeing that. Again, if you know that you have arrived late, it can be very helpful to me to send me a quick message. That way I can make sure I have my attendance correct. Thank you, Brandon.
I sent you a message on mine. You didn't text me back.
Okay, I'll give that a look at some point during this lesson. So thank you, Sean. All right. Oh, the topic of today's lesson is immunity. What do you all already know about a human being's immune system? What does it mean to be immune to something? What does it mean to be immune to something?
Like getting used to or something?
Okay, your body is used to it. And what happens when your body gets used to it? That's one way of putting it. What happens once you kind of have gotten used to it? Okay, well, immunity essentially means that your body is impervious to something. It cannot be affected negatively by something. That's what immunity means. So if I'm immune to the flu. That means that I've gotten my flu shot and my body is going to recognize that flu virus if I come in contact with it. And I'm not going to actually develop influenza. I'm not going to get sick because of that virus. That's what immunity means. Now, the human body, as well as the bodies of most other animal species, has a pretty sophisticated immune system. And this immune system is a network of cells and proteins that defend our bodies against infections. Yesterday, we talked about pathogens. Pathogens are the causes of those infections. So it could be bacteria, viruses, toxins, parasites. Those can all cause infections. Our immune systems help us to ward off those invaders, ward off those pathogens, to stop them from entering our body. And if they do enter our body, then our body is equipped to hopefully fight them off. So please do write down this definition of the immune system. Here we are discussing yet another subtopic of biology that really is a great place for even further research for those of you who are interested in furthering your science curriculum, your science education. Immunology is one of the most studied fields of biology. So if this is something that interests you, the process by which human beings and other animals become immune to something, I would definitely look into it. So I'll leave this on the screen for about 20 seconds so you all can write down the definition of immune systems. Okay. So the way that our bodies function to initiate an immune response is through the use of antibodies. Antibodies are proteins that are made by the immune system to fight and destroy foreign substances. Antibodies are created by white blood cells, which are scientifically known as leukocytes. So as we're seeing in that moving animation on the right side of your screen, we've got an antibody that is attaching itself to the yellow pathogen. And what that antibody is going to do is trigger a response within that pathogen to basically destroy itself. But antibodies are proteins, just like enzymes are proteins. So really the most important part of the antibody is its shape. The antibody has to be shaped similarly to the antigen, as we can see in that still image on the left. We can see that the antibody has this kind of curve that fits very perfectly on the pathogen's antigen. We can see that the antigen is on the outside of the pathogen. So this antibody comes in and it fits like a puzzle piece to the antigen. And that is what allows for the antibody to recognize that this is a this is a pathogen. This is an intruder. This should not be here. This could cause my host this could cause the body some very serious issues. So we need to start to prepare to destroy this pathogen. This is why antibodies are so important, because they are the first line of defense. They are the ones that will recognize that the pathogen is not where it should be. If it is a new pathogen that the body has never been exposed to and does not have antigens or does not have antibodies for, then there aren't any ways of recognizing that this pathogen is an intruder. Basically, the pathogen has a mask on and it's kind of just blending in with everything else. And so that allows it to invade the body and start to multiply, and it can cause an infection. But when this pathogen is something that the body has seen before, then the body has antigens that will go and destroy this pathogen. So again, 10 seconds to write down what antibodies are. And you should also probably write down this turquoise box. The antibody attaches to the pathogen. Specifically, it attaches to the antigen, which is on the outside of the pathogen. And then it destroys it. About 10 more seconds to write down what you're seeing on the screen. Okay. So there are two types of immunity as it relates to humans. We've got passive immunity. Passive immunity is short-term, and it results from the introduction of antibodies from another organism. Usually that other organism is your mother. But as is the case with this COVID-19 pandemic, sometimes you can get antibodies from blood infusions from other people who have donated their antibodies. So this is passive. This is a direct infusion from another organism. Now, when you are first born, you get quite a few antibodies from your mother during birth. And ultimately what that's doing is it's going to give you some tools. It's going to give your body some tools to protect itself in this new world where it's going to be exposed to quite a few new potential pathogens. The other type of immunity is called active immunity. And active immunity is acquired, meaning that you either get this from an infection, and so your body gets exposed to a pathogen, and in the process of fighting off that pathogen, it learns to recognize it so that it can't happen again. Or you get some type of vaccination. In both cases, what essentially is happening is your body is going to take pieces of the pathogen and basically commit those pieces to memory and recognize those pieces and say, okay, well, if I see this antigen again, I know that that's a pathogen. That's a pathogen that could cause a sickness, so I need to be ready to fight it. That's what a vaccine does. It's basically delivering small pieces of the pathogen into your body, small pieces of the virus into your body, so that your body can learn that virus. So when you sometimes hear people say, "Oh, a vaccine is actually going to make you sick because they're putting the virus in your body," that's not totally true. They're putting small pieces of that virus into your body, not the whole thing. It's not enough to make your body sick. Your body might experience you might have a fever for a day or two because your body is trying to figure out what this new antigen is, and it's preparing itself to have to maybe fight something off, but you're not actually getting the virus itself. When you get a flu shot, you don't actually get the flu as a result of that vaccine. So make sure you're writing down these two definitions. We only have a couple more slides. We should be done in the next 10 minutes or so, and then we can do some review.
Mr. Red.
Yes.
You remember that Kahoot that we did, or that we did after class that you had said?
The one that you were doing like on your own time?
Yeah.
Yes.
Was that a grade?
Yes, that will be a grade.
Is it formal or informal?
Informal.
All right.
But you can always improve your score. I'm glad you brought that up. If you want to take it again, you can improve your score.
No, I'm straight. I only got 2 questions on.
Okay. So unfortunately, we in the 21st century are running into this problem of antibiotic resistance. So antibiotic resistance occurs when bacteria change or evolve in response to the use of different antibiotics. This is a huge threat to global health and to food security because even though human beings obviously do get antibiotics, sometimes if you get a cold and your doctor finds that the cold is a bacterial cold, then they can prescribe you antibiotics, or you might have an infection of some sort, they can prescribe you antibiotics. So obviously humans do take antibiotics, but really most of the antibiotics are being used for farm animals. And so the farm animals, which live in close proximity to one another, and they might be exposed to other wild animals, and they are not living sometimes in the best conditions, they are exposed to a lot of bacteria. And so farmers will often give their domesticated animals antibiotics to help them remain healthy, even though they're exposed to all of these bacteria. The problem with that is that some of these bacteria are genetically resistant. So the antibiotics do not actually kill them. And so let's say that, we have a pig, and this pig has come down with a cold of some sort. The farmer notices that the pig is lethargic, is tired. The pig is just, exhibiting symptoms of some type of infection. And so the farmer gives that pig some antibiotics, and the pig does get better. But that pig actually, let's say, was infected with 100 viruses. Let's say that or 100 bacteria, I'm sorry. Let's say that those 100 bacteria, 95 of them were killed off by the antibiotic. But then there were 5 of them that were immune to the antibiotic. They were genetically immune. They had genes that protected them from this antibiotic. They couldn't be killed by it. So now, even though we killed off 95% of the bacteria, those 5 bacteria are now going to reproduce, and they're going to have many more. They're going to reproduce into many more bacteria that are also genetically immune to the antibiotic. And so now this farmer notices that the pig is getting sick all over again, but this time the antibiotic isn't working. It's not actually helping the pig. What we learn is that if we do this on a massive scale, what we're seeing is there are a lot of bacteria now that are no longer able to be easily killed by antibiotics. They are becoming genetically immune to the antibiotics because of natural selection, meaning that the bacteria that do not have that genetic immunity are getting killed off. But the bacteria that are left then reproduce, and they pass on that genetic immunity to their offspring. And so you end up with more and more of these genetically immune bacteria that cannot be killed by the more basic antibiotics. That's a big problem because it means that we now have to develop more antibiotics, stronger antibiotics. But we're basically in an arms race because as we develop stronger antibiotics, then the bacteria develop stronger immunity. And then we have to, again, develop stronger antibiotics. And then again, the bacteria develop stronger immunity. So it's this, we have to keep outdoing one another. We have to keep outpacing one another. And this is a problem because we may not be able to go, we may only be able to go so far. Okay, so that happens on farms all over the world, but it also happens with humans too. So when your doctor, if you ever are prescribed an antibiotic, then your doctor is going to tell you, make sure you take the full prescription. Even if 3 days from now, you feel fine, but you still have 2 pills left in your antibiotic regimen, take those 2 pills. Even if you already feel fine, because we need to make sure we kill off all of the bacteria. We don't want to leave any that are genetically immune, and those might surge back. And now you need an even stronger regimen of antibiotics. So we can see that in some places across the world, they're really, really running into big issues. In China, for example, in Eastern China, they're running into big issues. 50%, more than 50% of the bacteria in China are now resistant to antimicrobial drugs. That's a big problem. This is also a big problem with pests and other insects. So let's say on another farm, let's say on a corn farm in Iowa, this farmer is noticing that he's got these beetles that are eating his corn stalks before they can mature. And so he sprays the field with a pesticide. For a season or two, he notices that the beetles are not having a big impact. He's seeing maybe 1 or 2 stalks that are being eaten, but it's not on a wide scale. But a few years later, he notices that the beetles are back with a vengeance and the pesticide is no longer killing them. The reason for that is those pests, those beetles, have now become resistant to the pesticide. They are genetically immune to that pesticide. And they're passing on those genes to their offspring. So with each successive generation, the problem is just getting worse and worse. So this is what we mean by resistance. Organisms, through the process of natural selection, are going to concentrate the advantageous genes, meaning that the genes that help the organism to be immune to these antibiotics or to these pesticides, those genes are going to get passed on. And eventually, an even greater portion of the population is going to be immune. You might start off with only 5% of the population immune, but eventually that's going to grow to 10%, then 15%, as those genes are passed on to the offspring. That's what we mean by resistance. All right, that's all we have for you all today, but we need to review now. Okay, we're about 6 minutes early. I told you we'd be done by about 12:40. We now have 40 minutes to review. Let's start off not with the Kahoot, but with the quizzes. Where's my quizzes? All right. So you can go to joinmyquiz.com and enter the game code 557933, or you can just go to this link that I'm about to send to the chat. Five, five, 7, 9, 3, 3. All right, we've got 19 students in this live class right now, so I expect to see at least 15 folks in this game. We've got 4 so far. I thank you, Jaden. Thank you, Alyssa. Thank you, Nevaeh. Thank you, Kyrie. Everybody else, let's not take too much longer to join this game. Okay, we've got 8 people. I need to see a lot more. So let's take no more than 30 seconds to join the game. The link is in the chat to do so. Okay, well, I thank the 9 of you who did join. Everybody else, you can still join in progress. Good job, Joseph.
Google Meet.
Are you talking about this quiz, Kyrie? You're more than welcome to retake it. Let's spend no more than 5 more minutes on this quiz. That way we can do the Kahoot, and then you all will also have some time to work on your asynchronous assignments. Okay, we still have some folks working. About 4 of you still working. Good job, Joseph and Alyssa. We're at a 59% accuracy, which isn't horrible. Some of the questions were trickier. Let's take maybe 2 more minutes to wrap up. All right. So yes, you can take it again if you want to, but let's move on and let's try this Kahoot. So you're going to go to www.kahoot.it. And enter the game pin 930734.
We retaking
it? This is a different Kahoot.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry. Alyssa, I accidentally just removed you. Can you join again? I was trying to click on one of these other students from my previous class, but thank you, Kyrie. Thank you, Fanique. Thank you, Ayana. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Alyssa. Sorry about that, Alyssa. So we've got 6 people from our class, but there are 19 of you still in the chat. So we still need a lot more. Thank you, Nevaeh. Thank you, Anthony. Okay, so let's take, what time is it? 30 seconds, 30 more seconds to join this.
yeah.
Thank you, AJ. All right. So what does the term evolution mean? What does the term evolution mean? Okay, good. Excellent. So evolution takes place over a long period of time. So it's a change in a species over a long period of time. Evolution doesn't just happen to one individual, and evolution does not just happen to a species over a short period of time. It has to happen over a very long period of time, as several generations. What does this image of homologous structures indicate about humans, seals, and whales? Excellent. This indicates that they have a common ancestor. Good job, Joseph and Alyssa. All right, which of the following is the best way to describe the theory of natural selection? Excellent. So the most adapted, organisms will survive, and survival means reproduction. So they reproduce, meaning that they pass their genes on to their offspring. All right. So the genes that make them more suitable or better suited for the environment also get passed on to their offspring. Good job, Key. Okay. Which of the following are considered a pathogen? Should be a quick one, quick one, quick one. Okay, good. So there were no wrong answers there. All four of those are considered pathogens: viruses, bacteria, parasites, and toxins. Joseph, you are on fire. Keep up the good work. Antibodies are classified as which type of organic compounds? We've got those four organic compounds that we've been talking about since August. Antibodies are only one of those types. Which one? Excellent. So antibodies are proteins. They are proteins, just like enzymes or hormones. And with proteins, the shape really, really matters. Structure equals function. Good job, Joseph. All right. Which of the following best explains why bacteria are becoming resistant to antibiotics? Good, natural selection. Yeah, so natural selection is what's taking place that allows those bacteria or those pests to eventually become resistant to antibiotics or to pesticides. And Joseph is still on fire. Good job. DNA found in a nucleus is in the shape of what? What's the shape of DNA? Good. DNA is shaped as a double helix. Which of the following cells were the first cells on Earth? So way back when there was no oxygen in the atmosphere, when there was nothing else that was living, what were the first cells on Earth? All right, so that was a tough one. So remember, anaerobic means without oxygen. So the early Earth didn't have any oxygen in the atmosphere. So the first life forms, the first living cells on Earth, had to be able to survive anaerobically without oxygen. They also didn't have anything else they couldn't make their own food. They didn't have that ability yet. So they were heterotrophic. So they had to eat the organic material that was in the oceans with them. So they were heterotrophic, not autotrophic. Good job, Alyssa. Big jump. Okay. Which gas was not present until autotrophic prokaryotes evolved? What gas was first missing in the atmosphere and was then, after autotrophic prokaryotes, placed into the atmosphere? Oxygen, right. So these autotrophic prokaryotes, they're autotrophic because they made their own food. And by making their own food, that required the process of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis also leads to the production of oxygen. Which of the following is considered to be abiotic? Okay, so viruses are abiotic. They're not living. We don't consider them living because they don't reproduce on their own. Okay, so viruses are not living. Everything else, bacteria, eukarya, eubacteria, these are all living organisms. 6 more questions. Which piece of biochemical evidence is the strongest? All right, DNA. Yes, DNA provides the strongest evidence of evolution. That was a pretty popular question. If you found a new organism, which biotech device would you use to identify it? Excellent, the DNA fingerprinting process. During which phase of the cell cycle does DNA replication occur? We're making new DNA. We're making new DNA. Yes, so the word synthesis, of course, means to make something. I tried to give that to you all. But in the synthesis phase, the DNA is replicated, meaning that we take one strand of DNA and we make a copy of it. We have to make new DNA to do that. So that's why we call that step synthesis. Excellent job, Fanique and Joseph and Alyssa. Let's keep going, keep going, keep going. Which organelle is found in plant cells but not in animal cells? Should be a quick one. Good, chloroplasts. Plant cells have chloroplasts, and animal cells, of course, do not, because animal cells do not do photosynthesis. Come on, Fanique, get back into the top 5. What is the overview of protein synthesis? What's the overview of protein synthesis? We're making a protein. Good. Start off with DNA, we end up with proteins. Which type of organic compound is broken down by the mitochondria to provide cell energy? So what is broken down inside of our mitochondria to eventually make energy? Yes, so glucose is what's broken down. Glucose is a word that ends in OSE, which should tell us that glucose is a sugar, and sugars are carbohydrates. So let's see how we did. Keep in mind, some of these people are from my other class. Joseph, excellent, 12 out of 16. Alyssa, wonderful, 14 out of 16. And then our top scorer, Alicia, she's from my previous class. But we also had Fanique in 4th place, so good job. We got 3 out of 5 from this class. Excellent. All right, let's come back over here to the slides. Where are they? So there's a new activity. It's U8D6. It's called the resistance activity. I have made that extra credit, which means that if you know that you are a student who is missing quite a few of the asynchronous assignments, you should be focusing on those before you do this one. This is just extra credit. Many of you have quite a few of the other assignments that are still outstanding. I have graded everything that I've received so far in Canvas. I can probably go ahead and update in the next 10 minutes PowerSchool, so you'll see what your PowerSchool grade is as well. But everything that I have that's been submitted from you all in Canvas has been graded. So you should be able to go in and see right now what assignments are still missing. Quite a few of you are missing quite a few asynchronous assignments. So let's please go ahead and take care of that. You do have until tomorrow at 11:59. As I said, I did make one of the assignments formal. So if you look at U8D2, review work, and then Q's from Unit 7. Bam. Now a formal assignment. The U8D2 review work, the most missed questions from the Unit 7 exam, is now a formal assignment. So that has a great potential to really help you if you go ahead and knock that out. Looking now, none of you have done it. None of you have completed that assignment. So I really want to see you all take care of that.
Mr. Rudd,
Yes.
my computer keeps freezing. I'm gonna shut down my computer and log back in.
Okay. Okay, so I am going in and I'm going in and I'm doing, I'm updating your Power School grades now. So some of you can probably see some changes in Power School if you know you've done some assignments. Now, keep in mind, all of the assignments can be redone and resubmitted if you are not happy with your grade and you want to get a higher grade. If you do not have a grade for an assignment, it's because it has not been submitted into Canvas yet.
All right, Mr. Ed. I'm gonna try to get all my assignments by tonight, or at least most of them.
Excellent. You have until 11:59 p.m. tomorrow. So make some headway today. That's a good start.
We got until 11:59. We got until 11:59 for all our assignments for today. Like all assignments for the quarter.
No, all of your assignments from Unit 8.
All right. And what
11:59 tomorrow.
Turn in until tomorrow.
What's that?
What if we don't turn in? Like, what if we turn in after that?
It'll have a late penalty, but I'll still accept it.
What would be the late penalty? Like a 79 or something?
Yeah, the highest you can get is an 80.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.